Everybody's gotta run, and ain't nobody gonna hold you. And everybody needs someone. Don't try to go along. Don't say I never told you. When you wake up tomorrow and your heart ain't feeling right, I'd love to steal up all of, say goodbye to pain and sorrow every day and every night. I once heard somebody say, this is living don't come easy, and you never find your way. And if you try to walk alone, you're already lost believing. And if the word rings true, and there's darkness before light, find somebody and get together. Make love last forever, every day and every night. When the whole damn world is beating you down, what about when you get burned from the tricks you never learned, and now you're dead on the ground? The story's sad, but it's true, and it can get the best of anyone. Loneliness won't get you through. You're gonna need to find a friend, gonna need to find someone. And if you wake up tomorrow and your heart ain't feeling right, find love to steal or borrow. Say goodbye to pain and sorrow every day and every night. Every day and every night.
Hey guys. Hey, there's a sweet puppy behind me. I just looked. They are a little bit excited today because it got cool overnight and it actually is in the 60s today. So the dogs are like extra hyper and they should be good for an hour or two here. That's Rusty back there. He's my little, well, now he's leaving. He said, nope, I'm leaving. Hey, just Irish. Sis, you should have been a detective. Good to see you. Mi amore Cristo. Sis says, talking about living in Arkansas and stuff. Yep. Go Hogs. Another loss. Yay. Hey, Peace Panda. Bliss. Just Irish. Peace Panda. Okay. That was sweet. Yeah. He's a cutie. He's got to go to the vet tomorrow for regular stuff. And then maybe has to get a dental. So, yep. That's what we got to do. So today, here's what we're going to do. Look, this whole thing, that Lauren lady that was on for 9 hours talking about her stalkers and everything. I didn't watch all that. I've seen bits and pieces of it. And to me, it sounded a whole lot like the YouTube drama where creators are talking back and forth and talking about each other. And But now that a lot of that was in person, and when you're talking about YouTube people, we don't see each other. Like those guys, they were, going to court cases, going to crime con, doing all those kind of things. And so they were in contact, within touching distance, actually were friends, actually knew each other, spent nights together. Those women going through her phone and stuff, that's ridiculous. And then to cancel her restraining order because it was going to be recorded. I don't think they were going to show her child on Law and Crime or anything. I just can't imagine that they would do that. That children are not televised when they are in court and everything. And so I don't really know all the details of that, but it seemed like she could have nixed that rather than just going, oh, well, because if you're going to go file a stalking order, and I'm going to show you guys real stalking cases today. We're going to talk about the psychology of stalking. We're going to go through a list of stuff about that, but we're going to look at a few stalking cases. And one of those is going to be, well, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark here. Let's just go ahead and talk. I'm just going to talk about what happened to Caitlin Clark. And this is only the one that you've heard of because there's a lot of stalkers in sports, right? And so another WNBA player, Paige Becker's had one. They can show up in the stands and be out there, and be there and be within inches of their person. Whereas online stalkers, like you can't. Okay, let's say like you said you were going to fly a drone over somebody's house and you live states away, a state or two away, right? That's not going to happen. And people are just so like, oh, like when Brittany went and filed these orders without having really good proof for them. And they just, even if she had shown up for court, they would have got thrown out because it's not enough. Words over the internet, making fun of each other, talking about how bad your streams are, that kind of stuff's not going to get you a restraining order. Let's see. Thanks, Christo, for the puppy smiles. Yeah, Lucia, I mean, I'm not going to sit down and watch a 9-hour stream of somebody boo-hooing. And to me, it just seemed like a whole lot of drama, and it seemed like a whole lot of cluster Bs, the personality disorders and the arguing but again, going in her phone and stuff, that was ridiculous. But was that to the level of I'm afraid for my life? No, it's you're screwing with my life. So I don't know what would have happened with that because, like I said, I didn't watch it all. I don't know. I'm not going to watch 9 hours of that on top of, people having to talk and stuff with it too. Hey, Lindsay Lee, good to see you. Bliss. Let's see. Yeah, drop the case. Like, I don't want this information out there, but I'm going to go live for 9 hours and let everybody else, in on it, and let everybody else do content on it for days or weeks or months. And you still got it out there, but you only got out there your side, so, but like 9 hours, I don't want everybody to know everything. My son, I'm protecting. You need to protect your son, but you still went live and talked about it all. Hey, Mittens and War, Ginger Snap. Well, there's stalking and then there's cyber stalking. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's okay. Hold on. Come on. Hold on, y'all, just a second. Come here. Oh, the dogs are playing and I had to put one out there. Okay. Sorry about that. Let's see. Gina Marie, good to see you. Let's see here. Okay, Lindsay Lee says, I watched it. Here's my takeaway. Lauren is afraid about a potential tarnished reputation and not afraid for her life. Sorry if I sound insensitive, but it is what it is. Yeah, to me, it sounded more like, they were mean to me, and it was a lot of mean girl stuff, and it was a whole lot of stuff that goes on in this sector every day, back and forth, and you did this and you did that, and does it is it to the level of stalking where you're literally afraid for your life? I don't think so. I don't think so. Elise, good to see you, says there's a great podcast called Strictly Stalking. They have a different guest each episode, and their stories are horrifying. Oh, wow. A Straight Talker says, I kept waiting for the stalking, and it never was clear to me. I mean, I did hear that there was a temporary RO, and Lauren, the other girl, showed up where Lauren was, but she hadn't been served yet, and they were at the same event. It just sounded like a whole lot of drama, and not I'm going to hurt you or this person's going to physically hurt you, but it's about, like you said, the reputation. I'm not sure if there are different legal consequences for cyber stalking. Just Irish says it was performative. Yeah, it seemed like it. Hey, Amy, good to see you. She's afraid about these text messages coming out. Yeah, a bunch of text messages. Now, nobody likes to have private messages shared. Again, though, is that to the level of going to court? Our courts are burdened with people who are actually hurt. And you're talking about, and no, I mean, again, if it happened to me and somebody had a bunch of my stuff, if I was doing all that kind of stuff and they were threatening to show my text messages, I'd be very frustrated. But I wouldn't run to the judge and go, they're stalking me, because they're not. She kept saying they would release her messages. She gets real animated at those parts. That is where her fear lies. Okay. See, I didn't watch it all. That's why I'm not like covering her. Today I wanted to talk about what really is stalking and what is going on in our world. Oh, restraining order. Okay, so let's look at, I'll just tell y'all what happened here with Caitlin Clark. I don't think y'all need to see the article. Let me see. I'm gonna read it to y'all. The 55-year-old Texas man who told police he was in an imaginary relationship with WNBA star Caitlin Clark was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison. This was in July of this year, for stalking and harassing the Indiana Fever Guard. Now, I'm a big fan of Caitlin Clark. If you don't know who Caitlin Clark is, I'm sorry. I'm just like, everybody knows who that is. Michael Lewis of Denton, Texas, reached a deal with Marion County prosecutors in which he pleaded guilty to 1 felony count of stalking and 1 misdemeanor count of harassment. He got credit for time served and blah, blah. He was ordered to pay the Gamebridge Fieldhouse, Hinkle Fieldhouse Fever Events and Indiana Pacers organization, as well as to have no contact with Clark, who is 23. He also will not be allowed internet access during his sentence. The resolution ensures that the defendant is held accountable for his threatening actions. The fear is instilled and the disruption he caused. He will now spend the next 2.5 years in the Department of Corrections, and the victim will be able to have peace of mind while focusing on what matters to her. Now, the people like Caitlin Clark, like, she's got a guard that, a man that walks with her inside the court. Like, not while she's playing, right? But when she comes in and out of the court, when she was injured most of the season, and I don't know, because we don't want to know, like, how they protect her away. Like, I know that Taylor Swift had a stalker. Taylor Swift comes into, like, I don't know if it happens every game, but she was going to watch her fiance Travis play, and to come through the arena out, where you go, the seating and everything to her thing, they were bringing these partitions in and they were letting her walk behind the partitions with the cameras on this side, so you couldn't even see her. You couldn't. I don't know if she's done it since. I'm sure she does. They were so protective of her not being seen, and people were like, "Oh, she's pregnant." There's probably so much that goes into these people having protection and everything that we don't even know about. Then okay, this is what he was doing. Been driving around your house 3 times a day, Lewis messaged to Clark, according to court documents. But don't call the law just yet. The public is allowed to drive by Gamebridge, aka Caitlin's field house. Next thing he said, I'm getting tickets. I'm sitting behind the bench. Now that's threatening. Like, I'm going to be there. I'm driving by your house. Again, Brittany had somebody, it looks like, driving by, holding a camera, driving by the house. That's scary. That literally was something scary, but it's not a one-time event. It's not going to get you a restraining order. Let me go back over here. Let's see. If 2 people create true crime content, one claims going to court is their job, then it's both of their jobs. Yeah, you can't. This back and forth with creators is not going to go to the level of you love Sophie too. Yeah, me too. And Lexi. I like all the team. But he's going to sit behind the bench. They said I was sending threatening texts, but the only thought on my mind was Caitlin, and it's all in big letters. This is stuff that he had written out. Caitlin's all spread out in capital letters. In other messages were sexually violent, according to court documents. So the FBI tracked the IP addresses of his messages to a hotel in downtown Indianapolis, that's where they're located, as well as the Indianapolis Public Library. They made a welfare check on him, and he told officers that he was in an imaginary relationship with Clark and that he came to Indianapolis on vacation. The messages to Clark continued after the initial visit by police. So they got him, and he's done for, and the guy acted like cuckoo in court. I saw some court clips, and he acted really cuckoo. So that's what that was. Amy says our Supreme Court protects speech, open courts, and going to trials, filming in public. Well, and free speech doesn't, like, you could be on YouTube, and YouTube has rules, and so you don't have the right to say everything you want to say. I can go out in front of my house and yell and scream and say everything, but you can't come in online on a platform and necessarily get away with saying everything you want to say. And also, you just can't threaten somebody physically, and you can't, but to what level does that rise? Mittens agreed. So maddening. I would call her out, but it's always got me blocked. Brittany is worse than the boy. And that boy who cried wolf is something that really bothers me, because so much of this is going on with her. And if something does happen physically, if something were to happen, she said yesterday that they're talking about burning her house down. Well, I heard, I think Clue was saying, I think what Clue was saying is if she won that house, like in a court thing, that she was going to go put a fire in every corner and burn it down. I don't think she was threatening Brittany that I'm going to come burn your house down. Now, if somebody was saying they were going to burn my house down and I didn't hear the whole thing, I might freak out about it. Because that's the thing with the internet is you hear bits and pieces and you don't hear the whole thing. You don't know what's going on. Ebo says if someone obtains your emails or text and wants to release information, 2 points, threatening to damage your reputation is criminal. Obtaining the emails and texts is also criminal. Okay. what law does that fall under, and how do you combat that, Tebow? I'm not sure. Yeah, it's eye-opening to find out about what all happens. To me, Straight Talker 76 said to me, it's bothersome to uproar over what's happening to a creator. Where is the uproar for the families being harassed and stalked? Chris and Katie Proudfoot are being stalked. There has been a lot of that. This Lauren woman, she's a crime, she goes to trials. She talks about all this stuff. And so, and like Brittany does, like other true crime people do, they talk about Chris and Katie. They talk about the personal lives of these people. You're only open to that happening to you because you're a somewhat public figure. You're not on the level of, CNN people or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're still someone. Hey, crafty girl. Please read about Katie Piper, her ex monitoring her, call all the time. Conclusion, he hired someone to throw acid on her. Oh, wow. Britt believes her chat. That's the thing, is what we have to do is not go off on what we heard. If somebody threatened me and I heard about it, but I didn't hear the actual threat, I'm going to be like, I need to hear in context with the before and after of that, what was being talked about and what did they say? Not third hand by someone on the internet who has their own agenda, right? We all have our own agendas. Bliss says I was right about how Clue was meaning it and not that she wanted to burn her house down. Brittany goes by what people tell her. See, I mean, and that's just a little bit I heard because I really haven't been listening to all of this lately. I have been, I don't know, just not, I mean, I watched football yesterday all day. Take it to court through a lawyer. Okay. Pictures of Chris and Katie in their everyday life posted by creators. Where does the picture come from? I don't know, but it's happening. I haven't seen all that. The outrage over LNC broadcasting her civil case was very ironic to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Law and Crime was going to actually show that. I heard that they weren't actually going to show that. I don't think they would have live streamed that. I think that she could have gone to the judge and said, or she's got a child, 10 or 11-year-old child that's supposed to be talked to. Again, and another thing is, if you're filing for harassment and stalking and you don't have any proof that you have been under stress, like, did you go to a therapist? Did you go to your doctor and say, I can't eat, I can't sleep, I'm so stressed out from this, I can't, I need help, these people are driving me crazy? Or I would say like your work, missing work or stuff, but you need to have proof of how this has affected you, like defamation. You can't claim defamation. It has to be untrue what they said. And then you have to show that how it harms you financially, emotionally, and physically. Okay, so that was the thing about that. Now I want to watch a few videos about people who have actually been harassed. Okay, so let's start with this one.
Victims and their families. It's a case involving a high-profile singer and actress and bizarre claims. Let's go now live to Fox 11's Gina Silva in North Hollywood with this exclusive story. Gina.
Well, Susan, the victims say the stalking was relentless. They tell me there were thousands of harassing emails that were sent to them, to their families, their friends, colleagues, even employers, all meant to destroy their lives.
She almost destroyed my life, personal, professional. She almost destroyed my career that I built it for so many years.
For more than a year, international recording artist Lika O has endured relentless stalking and harassment.
Sending over 6,000 emails a day with the fabricated links that she actually created by herself.
So what happened was they created like websites with, hey Julie, with bad things about her. They created them themselves and then sent emails to people linking to those websites that made it look like they were true. They went an extra step there. They didn't just send emails to people going, well, she did this and she did that. They actually made websites to go to, links to go to and show what was going on or what they claim was happening.
Claiming that we are frauds, pedophiles, criminals.
The FBI's Joint Terrorism Task Force investigated the case and arrested Yevgenia Skripnik, also known as Jane Skripnik, on federal stalking charges. She's accused of causing severe emotional distress to her victims.
One of the victims even were fired from work because she started contacting the colleagues saying that this person was like a fraud and pedophile.
After LA Magazine highlighted one of her projects, Lika O says her stalker began sending false claims of fraud to the magazine.
Can you imagine you do
I heard that this kind of a little bit like when Jay was saying that she was on a TV, she recorded for a show and it never got shown because people on the internet here in YouTube were contacting where she filmed and told them a bunch of stuff about her. And they were like, we can't show this now because, you know, there was just all this uproar about Jay did this and Jay did that without any proof. And that's why she says when she went to film this latest time she went to film, they did it. She's not telling anybody who it was with because that could happen again. You can't just go at people and in a professional arena and start lying on them. Well, it worked. It worked for them the first time, but come on, people.
Successful project, and LA Magazine share an amazing article about your project, and next day they remove that article, and you ask why. So they received a fake email from fake LA admin saying that I'm a fraud and they need to remove that article, and she sent.
That is so scary because they're pretending to be legitimate people in the industry. And it's so easy now on the internet. If you know how to code or you know how to make websites or you know how to do all this stuff, it's so easy to be a fake.
And 25 links that she created about me, and they removed that.
Her information was exposed online, and Lika O says even friends' email accounts were hacked. According to the federal indictment, Skripnik also went after her victims' family members.
What is her motive? My personal feeling that she has the hate to people who are successful, who are hardworking, and who are doing something in life. She doesn't like that. She wants to put everyone down. She wants to destroy life, obviously because she's probably just not a happy person.
Lika O is urging other possible victims to contact the FBI. As for Skripnik, she pled not guilty and her trial has been scheduled for October 7th.
I wonder if they had their trial. So I mean, what do y'all think about that? Like they're actually, hey, Mabel. Yeah, baby reindeer vibes. Hey, Tanya, Texas. What do y'all think about this case where they were actually fabricating? It's one thing to have your real stuff put out, but it's another thing for somebody to completely fabricate false information, make websites, put it on there, make themselves look legitimate. And this is a singer, you know, this is a person that's her business. That's how they make money. Scary, privileged, entitled brats involving the police and courts. Hey, none your business. Good to see you. Yep. I just don't get why people have to do this. So let's see. Already did that one. Let's watch this one.
All right, welcome to BTN Plus, everybody. I have a special.
This is a former meteorologist. This is a woman who had numerous restraining orders came home one night and there's the man, her stalker, right there at her house. There's a bunch of videos of her, but I thought this one might be a good one, at least a start.
Special guest tonight, Kylie Burse. She is in Denver at Fox 31 now, but you might remember her from WCCO, where she was a meteorologist for that team. She joins us now from Denver with a personal story that I feel like a lot of people need to hear. Hey, Kylie.
Hey, thank you for having me, Jana.
Yeah, Kylie, it was disturbing to read what's been going on with you in Denver. Can you tell me a little bit about what's been happening and why you started to share this publicly?
Yeah, so, started 3 years ago. It was just, as you know, normal viewer fan interactions. We welcome people, every day people welcome us into their houses, and it's so exciting and it's fun and they feel like we're family and it's wonderful.
That's the same thing as being a YouTube creator. Not you guys, as viewers, see creators like you know them. You feel like you know us, and especially the ones who are live a lot every day and everything. And you do know them, but we don't know you back the same way. So it's that parasocial relationship kind of thing, and so people get too much involved in on the internet with this lady this woman was doing weather.
But 3 years ago with one particular viewer, it became a little bit obsessive, and then it became a lot obsessive to the point where after he was reaching out on 7 or 8 different Instagram accounts, all sorts of different social media accounts, then he started reaching out to my family, my friends, and then he showed up at an event, and that's when he told me he believed that I had been his wife. And this is a 69-year-old man. So I was able to obtain a temporary restraining order. And then 2 months later, he broke it more than 50 times, and I got a permanent restraining order. Thought that we were good to go. 18 months went by, and then he followed me home from work.
Were you scared?
Oh, I was terrified. I pulled into my garage. All of a sudden he pulls up in a truck. There's no way I could have gotten my car out. I just remember thinking, if this man has a weapon, you've got to get down immediately. I didn't know. He ended up being unarmed with only a pocket knife, but I had no idea at the time. I ran inside. He had gone around. He started ringing the doorbell. I got my dog, called 911, and got out of there as quickly as possible. And
that 3 years this went on, and restraining orders and that's the thing. They're not like a guard following you around. A restraining order is really only as good as the paper it's on, and then they can still come at you. I mean, it's not end all be all.
When they found him, he was still sitting outside my house in his truck and was eventually arrested.
He knew he had a restraining order, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And not just the temporary, the permanent, that we had to go through multiple, processes within the courts.
Permanent restraining order that they had to go through multiple processes in the courts. And he still follows her from work to her home.
And so I assume that gave you some solace knowing you had that permanent restraining order in place and didn't expect to see him again.
It does and it doesn't, because at the end of the day, it's just a piece of paper. It's not something that's physically stopping them from coming to you, as I saw, just a couple of weeks ago. But I am glad that I went through all the different proper channels, because the police told me if I didn't have that restraining order in place, they only could have given him a ticket for harassment. So it gives you some peace of mind, but then at the same time, there's just so little you can do.
Right, because he willfully broke it by showing up to your house.
Oh, and he'd broken it 50 plus times before then.
So is it over now, or is it just a game of waiting until he breaks it again?
Well, that's what's scary. And I think what's really frustrating in this particular case is that he meets all of the guidelines for felony stalking. And for some reason,
listening to her talk reminds me so much of this newscaster in Little Rock who was killed in her home, stabbed and beaten and raped, and now I'm not thinking of her name right now. I did a video about it years ago. Her mother is the one who found her like that. It was horrible. I mean, and as a resident, it was in Little Rock, and as a resident at the time in Little Rock, women were scared because all we know is this news lady was murdered in her home brutally, and they didn't know who did it, but we're told, oh, you don't need to go buy guns. Everybody's safe. They didn't know who did it. But it, and I don't know if he had been stalking her necessarily, but he had recently, the guy that they actually convicted of it had been in her neighborhood stalking, and she lived in the old neighborhood in Little Rock where all the money is, like the rich people, all in the early days up until now, like the homes sell for a lot more than any other homes. It's very, very little bit of crime, right? But there were some other things with that, and a lot of people don't think they got the right killer because of, well, I can't go into all that. But when you're like on the news like that and people see you every day in their home and they think they know you, they don't. You don't know these people.
Reason the DA that I spoke with here in Denver said it doesn't qualify because there was that 1.5-year break. And I looked at him, I went line by line through the law with him. I had lawyers look at the law with me and say, like, there's no timeline in this law. And so it completely counts as that. But instead, I was not able to convince him, and it was brought down to a misdemeanor. And he said, well, if he breaks it again, he'll for sure be in jail this time, which doesn't really give you any peace of mind. So yeah, it's just waiting. I'll see if he faces any jail time for the misdemeanor that he's on. But other than that, you're just kind of looking over your shoulder constantly.
And he's sentenced in November, correct?
He has his next court appearance in November.
I shared with you a story I had done with a few women here in Minnesota, on-air personalities at one of our radio stations who had a similar experience. They were stalked by the same man until they just had it and left the business to get out of the public eye, the one place that the person could find them.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible. So it gets so bad that they leave their public job. Maybe that was their lifelong dream. What if Caitlin Clark had to quit basketball because there's too many stalkers? I mean, you're going out in public all the time. You have to, you travel, you do all these things. And these are people, that's their job.
That seems unfair.
It's completely unfair. I think that you and I got into this, and I'm sure those women did too, to make a difference in our community. And we are very passionate about what we do. And I'm not going to lie to you, this has definitely made me reconsider if this is the business that I want to stay in. And he's not the only person that I've dealt with in the last couple of years. I have another restraining order against another gentleman where I didn't go quite as far, but there's been so many incidents where you just go, is my safety worth it? And at the end of
another stalker. Oh my gosh. I don't even know, like, they don't even make that much money being weather people and stuff.
the day, I don't know that it is.
It is, it's sad.
But it shouldn't be the cost of doing business for you.
Mm-mm.
No, it shouldn't. And it's sad, but I want to be able to walk my dog without constantly head on a swivel looking for a truck that might be following me. So we'll see what happens. I'm passionate about what I do. I hope that maybe we can see justice served and I'll get back to a place of feeling comfortable again.
Have you gotten any assurances that this time it will be different?
No,
No.
there's nothing. When I begged the DA to change his mind, he just said, this doesn't count. It doesn't work. I've heard from so many other people since then, but I haven't heard from anyone in Denver law enforcement. I've heard from a lot of other incredible people in law enforcement in the justice system all around the country who are saying, I'm so sorry this happened to you. You know, we do take things seriously. So I do hope that by sharing my story, maybe a DA, a judge, someone hears it and understands how seriously stalking should be taken. Because I think sometimes you're just like, oh, someone's obsessed with you. What's the big deal? It's very, very scary and it's life-changing.
Yeah, and then we see, major celebrities deal with this. Taylor Swift comes to mind, who's had a stalker go to their home. Caitlin Clark had a stalker arrested. This is serious stuff, and it can alter your sense of self and safety.
Absolutely. Well, and if you think about, Taylor Swift, I think I have a lot of resources. I mean, that woman has, all the money in the world, the best people on it. And if she can't get help with it, it's absolutely terrifying. And it's really sad. And I think that that's why it's so important when we hear about people as high up as Taylor Swift, as Caitlin Clark, a local news personality, and then all the other women that are dealing with this, and people too. It's mostly women, but there's certainly some men that have dealt with this as well.
Right. And what I took away from the story that I did with those women is there are gaps here when you follow the rules that are maddening.
Gaps. There's gaps in the system, and that's another reason why you don't run to court when you don't have a legitimate claim, or you go to court like Brittany did and don't even show up. Don't show up for your hearings. Don't show up on time. That's not showing up. You're so afraid for your life that you don't even show up for court and then claim, well, it was too fast. It came around too fast. Well, you're the one that filed it. They do it fast because you're afraid for your life. Come on. Okay, Mittens and more. I sure will. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. If you're really serious about being afraid for your life and you tie up the court's time, it's got to be legit, because there are loopholes. The courts are overburdened. They rush people through because they got too much going on. So don't bog them down with stuff that's not legitimate.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't reach the level of XYZ. But then you have to beg the question, like, well, what level does it have to reach? Does it have to be physical violence for you to take it seriously?
I think that's the scary part. And I think that's what a lot of people have been told.
Nunya says, this is why it pisses me off so much. Lauren over there crying like some of us have actual effing stalkers, violent ones. She minimizes all of our trauma. Yeah, that's the thing. She's got a platform where she covers true crime, and she doesn't realize that this is minimal compared to what a lot of people go through. And then you actually have a court date and you go, oh, well, they want to show it on TV. Well, that's your job. You show everybody else on TV. I mean, I don't understand. Liz says in our area, we have many news channels where the weather reporters are females. When they post on their social media and you skim through the comments, so many are gross and beyond disgusting. It's so sad. It is. It's like that. Like on, I'm on X. I view a lot of stuff on X, and the things they say to these basketball players, or the things that people say on the internet about other people, it's nasty. It's so gross. I mean, it's just so gross. Christo says, I'm afraid for my life and need a protection order, but drag it out. Yeah, I mean, it's just no. Those are set up to be fast, because first of all, you would get the temporary. You get the temporary because you got to get it now, and you get the temporary based on stuff that may not be quite. That's why they go and have the permanent one. Yeah, and you're not afraid. If you're afraid for your life, you've done things. You've got protections. You don't talk about that person. This internet stuff going back and forth, y'all, when you're talking about each other and you're saying you're scared and it's causing you all these problems in your life, but you keep going back and forth with each other. It's not going to solve that issue. We're showing like legitimate people who were legitimately scared. I'm sorry, I haven't said hi to everybody. There's Kevin, I'm saying hi. Kevin says, new to the channel, but enjoy your views so far on subjects. Thanks for showing what a true stalker is. Seems like people like Beej and Lauren are a little confused. Thanks for your input, and thanks for being here. I appreciate that. So we'll finish this one out.
From law enforcement. And, you hope that when you're in the middle of it, that you're not that next statistic. It's scary to think about.
Right. Because I'm sure when you were at your home that day and you're trapped, you're like, how does this play out? What do I do?
I had no idea. And I can just tell you, I hadn't read the police report, but I saw that the post, they read how I was described as visibly shaken and scared. And, the whole day is kind of a blur in some ways. But I do remember just being like, my body was physically shaking in fear. I just didn't know. I didn't know that he didn't have a gun on him. I had no idea what this man wanted. I didn't know how angry he was at me for getting these restraining orders. Once you get a permanent restraining order in Colorado, you can't own a gun anymore. So I didn't know how mad that made him. So it was just horrifying.
So you get a restraining order against someone, and then, like she's saying, they're just going to get more angry, and then they take their gun away. And, well, you can take a gun away all day from somebody who wants to hurt you, and they could get another one, right? That's not a protection either. I mean, it helps, right? I mean, it helps. But when you're doing cyber stalking, when you're just talking back and forth, I'm not talking about the first video we watched where they were actually making websites and then emailing all this woman's family and friends to go look at these websites. And it looked legitimate, I'm sure, especially to people who aren't on internet all the time, aren't making videos or doing all this stuff, people who aren't maybe as savvy. And it's terrifying. It's horrible.
What do you want from going public? What's your hope that comes of this sharing of your story?
I hope that people, especially in the justice system, start taking stalking seriously. I want other women to know that they're not alone, and people too, everyone. I've heard from so many women who have experienced something like this, and it feels very isolating and very alone. I remember feeling extremely alone after it happened. And you're not alone if this has happened to you. It's horrible, but you're not alone. And I do hope that by sharing my story, that justice systems take things seriously.
Well, it took a lot of courage to do what you did, and I hope.
Let me see if I can hold on just a second. I want to look up something. Wait, I'm not going to do that right now. Hold on. Ooh, I can't stand that so big. So that was that video. And then we've got this double murder here. Oh, hold on a minute. Let's see. I got to make this. There we go. Let's watch. Y'all have heard about the double murder. These girls were hit on their bicycles.
SUV. Prosecutors say it was driven by another 17-year-old, and folks in the neighborhood are saying that 17-year-old was stalking one of the girls. This is 17-year-old Maria Niotis and her best friend, 17-year-old Isabella Salas. And they were on Monday around 5:30 in Cranford, New Jersey, riding their e-bike when a black SUV struck them. Now, you might think, oh, this was some sort of an accident. Well, the driver of the SUV fled the scene. So is it a simple accidental hit and run? Well, that's not what investigators believe happened here. That's not what relatives of the two girls believe as well. There's a 17-year-old suspect who's been arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. You're not charged with first-degree murder for an accident, okay? If prosecutors believe it's an accident, it's going to be something much less. Here, it's first-degree murder. Friends, family, other folks in the neighborhood have all been speaking to local media about this suspect having been stalking one of the young girls. Next development, a teenage live streamer who...
Crazy B6, in the RO, I got nowhere. Does it say the person could no speak or say bad things against me? It doesn't even stop physical abuse. Never going to stop. Yeah, I just don't think you can get a restraining order because you're saying stuff. It's easier if you've had a physical relationship with the person, like a romantic relationship, and then it's online, because that's what happened with that Lycan and Granny. Even though both sides were saying things, he said some really nasty things. They had supposedly been a couple online, and so she got the restraining order against him. And even he tried to appeal it. And I don't think he was ever going to actually do these things, or, was actually going to physically hurt her. They never even met in person. But if you have that relationship, if you can show that you had a romantic relationship with somebody, it's easier to get it rather than just saying, I know, these people online. And then you have to have said things that are so threatening that a normal person in a normal situation would fear for their safety. It has to be enough. And I'm sure there are times when it's, right on the line, and the judge is going to take care to protect the possible victim.
Many believe is the suspect accused in this case, addressed the rumors in a video on YouTube. This is after the two girls are killed. He also spoke about threats that his family members were getting. Here's what he posted on his YouTube channel, Vinny Bat 118.
In a neighboring town, unfortunately, two girls were killed in a hit and run crash. I wish my sincerest condolences to those two girls. Making threats against my family will not be tolerated. My cousin has received hateful messages over social media about this whole spiel.
And when he says whole spiel, he means the killing of two innocent girls. That's the spiel, right? So,
Girl next door, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and I hope you can find some solution to that. She said that she's been stalked, harassed, and left for dead due to an injury. I have no recollection of the incident that left me in a coma for 2 weeks. I live in fear every single day. Nobody should have to live like that. And you live in literal fear. And do you know who did it? That's horrible. I'm so sorry. Wow.
I believe, and we believe he shares a last name with that cousin who was being harassed about this. That cousin's father, we believe, is the police chief of a neighboring town and lives and is a neighbor of one of the girls in the town where this killing happened. So after the arrest, the police chief from the neighboring town, Westfield, New Jersey, posted a statement on Facebook. Here's what it reads in part. While social media has made it known that the accused is related to me, he is not my son and not a member of my immediate family. I want to be clear, as loud and as firm as possible, that in no way do my wife, children, or I condone, defend, or excuse the actions that caused this terrible and tragic loss of life. So you can see the chief's getting, people going after his family. It has nothing to do with this. His immediate family. Apparently, he may be the uncle of this 17-year-old who may be the live streamer who was talking about this.
Our frivolous cases just diminish what actual victims have gone through. And it also ties up court time, because if you go in there and there's all these other cases and the judge only has so many hours in the day, they're going to rush through these. They're going to maybe err on the side of caution, but they might err the wrong way. It's so scary. When you're not literally afraid, if you're literally afraid, you don't talk bad about those people all over the internet, Brittany. You don't run around in other chats and say stuff. I've seen it posted. I don't go to all the chats. I don't see all that. I've seen them posted from other chats where you're going in there and saying horrible things. If you're really in fear for your life, if you're in fear for your safety, for you and your children and your family, why are you doing that? Oh, and you can track, you can track people.
Now, where are we getting some more of this information from? One of the victims, Maria, her uncle, posted this on Facebook. Here's what it reads in part. My beautiful young niece was killed. The killer followed her to the house for many months, followed by somebody from that school every day and harassing her.
Look at that. My beautiful young 17-year-old niece was killed. The killer followed her to her house for many months. Everybody knows that in the neighborhood. My niece was a high school student. Followed by somebody from that school every day and harassing her. It's horrible.
And again, this is all the information people are putting together. But because the defendant is 17, he's being treated still at this moment as a juvenile, despite the murder charges in New Jersey. In New Jersey, you have to be waived up. That's where I used to practice. The case starts in juvenile court, and then you have to be waived up, and there's an official hearing in order for that to potentially happen. Okay, let's bring back in our think tank. Joining us, Holland Reed, Claudia King, and Josh Colesroot. Claudia, I'll begin with you because a lot of the putting the pieces together here, you've got this police chief from a neighboring town, but he and his officers actually responded to the scene here because these are small New Jersey towns. They help each other out. What are your thoughts about this case, if in fact there is some history of stalking or harassment prior to what happened here?
You know, we were just talking about hubris and conceit with Diddy, and if this kid is the one who is the accused that made that video, calling it a spiel is the conceit that we were just discussing. This is crazy. It sounds like whoever committed this crime was going about 70 miles an hour in a 25 zone, hit these young ladies, left the scene. It's absolutely horrible. And if there was stalking involved, I think that's how we got to this first-degree murder charge, because it does seem like there's more to the story and there is some type of relation between the victim and the suspect that caused this whole event.
Yeah, and Josh, when you listen to the entire live stream, again, which is after the two girls are killed, the live streamer talks about the prior contact and issues, the ongoing issues. I guess there were accusations against him, perhaps for the harassment, for other things. He didn't get into details about it. But how important is all of that in conjunction with what happened to the two girls, if in fact this is purposeful conduct, and it sounds like it's 70 miles an hour, and then leaving the scene?
Well, you know, if I'm his attorney, I am furious that he would do something like this when, number one, the prosecutor is trying to establish identity, you know, who is the suspect and perpetrator in this case. And what you didn't hear in that audio recording was, it wasn't me. I had nothing to do with this. You didn't hear that. All you heard was that there's more to the story, which tells me that he knows that there is a story. So, I mean, that pretty much establishes that he's the suspect. And then you have the flight. And you can always get a jury instruction that says that you can infer consciousness of guilt when someone flees the crime scene, which is what happened here, coupled with what Claudia said, that if this kid was really stalking these females, there are reports that the neighbors saw him outside of their house in that black Jeep, and that he had been identified before as harassing them. He's in a lot of trouble. And hopefully the prosecutor is going to upgrade this to an adult felony very soon.
They should be able to track this this guy's phone, like they track Brian Koberger and pings and all that stuff to see if he was in the area, to see what he was doing, to find out if he was really stalking them.
Holland Reed, the real tragedy here, again, it seems like if this harassment is happening and the stalking is happening, like the writing was on the wall. And these are the ones that break my heart so much, because what can a 17-year-old girl do to protect herself? I mean, there are some limitations. Even if you have a piece of paper, the piece of paper is not going to stop someone who's driving, this truck at you while you're riding a bike.
Vinny, you just took the words out of my mouth. As someone that has been stalked before, as an adult, that piece of paper doesn't do much. These people, the social media is a double-edged sword, right? It gives those bar muscles. His statement, again, the arrogance of it, the audacity of it is tragic into itself. But there's this desensitized kind of mentality that happens in situations like this with people that feel like they can do whatever they want and not get caught or not have to, pay the price for that. That piece of paper, I'm going to say this to your viewers and to anybody, even though there's not much we can do, document, report.
That's a good point. So even if you didn't, like if you filed for a restraining order because you were afraid and you did go through all the legitimate channels and you did show up for your court hearing and then you still didn't get it, you still have documented that so that the next time, or if it doesn't stop, you can keep documenting it. And you also need to document how it's affected you. You can't just go to the judge and say, I can't sleep, I can't eat. Again, you've got to go and you've got to document this. You've got to show where you're going to have to show where, not for an RO, but where your loss of income and stuff. You can't just go in there and say, your word is not sufficient in the courts. It's just not. You have to have proof.
Even if, it doesn't maybe end your way, unfortunately, God bless the families in this tragic loss, but you still take the power back and do not give those bar muscles, social media muscles, or the audacity that he has to the person, to the perpetrator.
Holland Reed, thank you so much. Claudia King, Josh Colesrue, great to have you all here. When we return,
All right. So
I'll reveal something else you need to know tonight. Plus,
now, the psychology of stalking. Let's just go through this and talk about it. We've watched some videos. We've seen what's really happening with people who are scared, and we're going to talk about this. It's a critical issue globally, and the national crime. This was from 2009, actually, that this study came out. A survey says that in 1 year, 5,857,000 Americans were stalked or harassed. The effects of stalking are also well known. More than half of the people in the sample mentioned above changed their behavior mostly out of fear. Almost 6 million people claim they were stalked or harassed in 2009. So that's 14 years ago. Wait, 16 years ago? Wait, I can't do my math. 16, I think. People who said they were stalked changed their daily routine, stayed with family and friends, added caller ID on their phones, and changed. Now, caller ID on your phones, that's old. Carried pepper spray, purchased guns. People who have been stalked and harassed have also been looked at from psychopathology point of view. So what actually constitutes stalking? It must be directed at one person. It needs to be, the person actually needs to fear. Hold on. The behavior tends to put the person in fear for their safety. You actually have to be in fear. It must actually make that person fear for his or her own safety. In addition to being classified as stalking, the behavior must occur more than once. More than once. Remember, it's not just one little thing happen. Stalkers use a variety of tactics to follow and harass their victims. This can be done by sending them letters or emails, spreading rumors, following them, showing up at their home or place of work, giving them gifts, threatening them, or even attacking them. Also, technological process and social media have given cyber stalkers a multitude of ways to stalk and harass victims. So, letters and emails, spreading rumors, but again, and we're talking about like cyber stalking and creators going at each other, talking about what that person did on what they said on their live. That's just showing what you did. That's just reviewing you. When Craig's in the background saying some of the worst things you'll hear, it's on the internet. It's everywhere. But he's not threatening one person. He's just saying things. It's not a threat, because up here it says it must be directed at one person. So you sit there and you say, those people. Well, that's not going to get a stalking order. Stalking, rather than being a condition in and of itself, is a behavior that fits under the umbrella of symptoms for a variety of disorders. Stalkers may be diagnosed with psychotic illness, personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder, and delusional behaviors or disorders like erotomania, which is the belief that another person, usually a famous person, is in love with them. Like, to think that someone on the internet that you watch is in love with you because maybe you have an attraction to them. No one is making stuff up about Brittany. They just repeating what she said and does on her live streams. That's a lot of it true. Robin says, can I PSA for pepper spray? My ex grabbed one I had tried to use against him in our last fight. When I tried to spray, it was jammed. He was got me on the floor and sprayed me so bad. Oh, wow. That's terrible, Robin. Yes, it is, Irish. No, Robin, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, when you carry any kind of weapon, if you don't know how to use it and you're not trained to use it, it can be used against you, even if you're trained. Because, like, if I were attacked and I had pepper spray and a big man came at me, he's most likely going to overpower me. That's just the way it is. Oh, wow, girl next door. Horrible. Yeah, they're just going over what y'all are saying on the internet. And I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous to be freaked out because somebody said they were going to fly a drone over your house. I mean, I understand that would kind of scare you, but you're sitting in there armed with all kinds of weapons, and you've got door locks and you've got cameras and you've got a man sitting there with you, and nobody's actually been spotted at your home or following you down the road or anything like that. So I don't get the fear. I don't get it. Okay, the psychology says that anyone has the potential to become a victim, although the stars are going to be more likely. Like we just went over Caitlin Clark and Paige Beckers and Taylor Swift and the weather lady. Okay, this is the majority of stalkers have severe personality disorders. The most common or one among stalkers is narcissistic personality disorder, which gives stalkers an exaggerated feeling of self-worth and an obsessive desire for other people to admire and revere them. Sorry, I'm having trouble with that word. You're not dealing with someone who is on the same level as you emotionally if they have a personality disorder. Their personality disorders can't be treated with medication. There's not a medication for those. You can treat them somewhat with medication and behaviorally, but a narcissist, well, they're not going to go get help because they don't think that there's anything wrong. So extreme dependence, in which a person needs constant help, attention, and acceptance from others, and borderline personality disorder, in which a person has unpredictable emotions and high sensitivity to rejection and abandonment, are two more personality disorders that experts often see in stalkers. I mean, you're talking about if you have these disorders, you can't help it, but you got to get help, and you've got to get somebody who can help you not do these bad behaviors, because you're scary. You're scary. And there are, like I said, there's not a pill you can take for being a narcissist or having borderline. There's just not. According to this study, there are 8 clusters of distinguishable stalking behaviors: hyper intimacy, cyber stalking, interactional contacts, surveillance, invasion, harassment and intimidation, coercion and threat, aggression. Sending flowers when it is not appropriate is an example of hyper intimacy, which may be thought of as traditional courtship carried to an extreme. So even just sending flowers, like now the thing is to send pizza to somebody on the internet. Like if you're a live streamer and you get a knock on your door and somebody sent you pizza to let you know they know where you live, right? They know your address. Sending you flowers, they know your address. That would be scary, right? According to research, this sort of conduct may be satisfying to the stalker since it creates indecision, ambivalence in victims. The target may feel both intimidated and charmed by the conduct. This ambiguity might make it more difficult for prospective victims to exit the stalker scenario. Yeah, Super Cracker, I know this is an older thing, but personality disorders don't change because of time. And it's valid information. These are studies that were done. And yeah, this one was done in 2002. That doesn't make it invalid. According to research, this sort of conduct may be satisfying to the stalker since it creates, I already read that. Okay, so cyber stalking, let's talk about that. Encompasses all types of communication made possible by electronic devices and technology. And that only increases. We've actually gone from people got cell phones and you could text to we've got a computer in our hand and you're able to do so many things with it, and social media, and you can do these Snapchats that disappear after you do them. This category includes the internet, email, phones, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all other forms of social media. Cyber stalking is more common in ex-intimate relationships. Before the breakup, ex-intimates are likely to have had access to email accounts and other forms of social media. So you've become close to somebody, you've become, you share too much. We live with somebody, that's going to be a harder one. Lauren with HCC is being stalked. Water Otter. I personally think her abuse is coming from inside her home and she has zero control, and that's why she is doing what she's doing. All right. Interactional contact is contact with explicit awareness, face-to-face or brief encounter. So interactional means that you've actually physically been in contact with someone, which the majority of people on YouTube, these people who were fighting, everybody's fighting, have never even met face-to-face. Surveillance tactics are often concealed and covert. Invasion tactics entail the breach of personal and legal boundaries, such as unlawfully collecting information, trespassing, and breaking into victims' dwellings. There's such a difference in what we're talking about and what's been happening to Brittany. I don't know, like Lauren, yeah, they're supposed to be releasing all her text messages where she's just, I don't like that person. I don't like the way she acts. That's not going to get you anywhere. You're not afraid for your life. You're afraid that they're going to find out you said stuff about them. And like, nobody wants their private. When you talk in private, you expect that to be private. Everybody talks about other people. It's just the way we are. But that's what I got from the Lauren thing. The most severe forms of stalking entails threats, intimidation, and physical violence. Acts such as spreading rumors, insults, efforts to damage reputations, and harassment. Rumors are meant to tarnish the victim's reputation. For instance, a stalker may inform the victim's family, employers, or acquaintances that they are indulging in activities such as extramarital affairs or embezzlement. I mean, yeah, if you didn't do these things and you've got somebody stalking you and they're putting it out that you did it, especially like the case of that singer that we did at the beginning. They were actually making websites and sending people to them. That's real stalking. Talking about back and forth. Okay, nobody's reading the creator. Nobody's going in these creators' chats from your real life. If you're in here and you're talking about somebody and they did this and they did that, it's not in your real life. It's on the internet, and your real life is not affected by that. Maybe if you're maybe this Lauren true crime, like, she's worried about everyone finding out who she really is and when those texts are released. Yeah, because she's portraying herself as being this I'm guessing this, upstanding true crime citizen who's, doing everything, and people's persona is often not exactly how they are behind the scenes. I'm not saying she's horrible or anything, because I don't know what's in them, but you don't come here and put on your worst face. You come here and you put on your best face. So Lauren is entitled and talked about her friends and backstab, and Beej wants to get money and hurt reputations. Both are in her fifis. She's afraid of the fallout. She overshared and didn't have NDAs in place. Yeah, I mean, I think people who do true crime often, they like her, they've got a lot of viewers, and they go to these courts and everything, and they don't handle it right. They don't handle it like it should be professionally done, because they don't think about it. They don't have training. They don't understand. CJK says more will come out about Lauren. Her stalking is far worse, and it's been a collaborated effort by a few women, is what I've been hearing from those who know her. I did see part of when Jay was showing the TikToks of this friend. What was her name? And she was talking about Lauren, and but she wasn't saying who she was talking about. So the average person who watched these videos wouldn't know. Like, if you go on there and you say, Lauren did this and Lauren did that, Lauren of this podcast did this and did that, then you're actually bringing more attention to her. But just going on TikTok and saying that, not going to get you as much negative attention on that person. She has a lot of integrity. No, the text messages was part of it. Christina called Dr. Matthews' work and posted on that he and Lauren are lying about their work. Loser Lisa says, yeah, like I said, I don't know all the details. But if they're doing that kind of thing, why didn't her husband file, like, I'm not saying, because I don't know, but if they're calling your work and they're saying things about you, why did you file a restraining order and then remove it? I mean, if you either had reason to get a restraining order or you didn't, and then because law and crime was going to show the trial, you got mad about it and you pulled back on it and then went live and talked about it for 9 hours. And now you've got all these people on the internet talking about it like me who don't know shit about it because I didn't watch it all. Right? You gotta. So we'll just go through this pretty quick here. Attachment theory. Attachment theory is a psychoanalytic theory that attempts to explain fundamental human interactions from birth through adulthood. It's, this is all theory. Y'all don't want to hear about that. But people have mental defects. They have reasons why they do things, and it's psychological. A regular person just doesn't sit here and go, I'm just going to go stalk Caitlin Clark because I'm a big fan and I'm just going to go follow her. And I'm going to say, you got to have some screws loose or you're not going to be doing that. Cyber stalking. Classic stalking in which the stalker, most research is what they're saying on classic stalking in which the stalker approaches, pursues, and harasses their target. Technological advancements have altered the appearance of stalking. Stalkers used to be limited to limited options for contacting their victims, including confronting, calling, and mailing their targets. Today, things have changed. Stalkers have various ways to contact, monitor, and follow their victims, including social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, all of it. Texting, instant messaging, and emailing. In addition, the technologically skilled stalker may attempt GPS technology or employ it and their victims' smartphones or even their cars to track their movements. You can go buy a tracker and stick it on somebody's car. I don't know how much that kind of stuff costs because I don't do it. I know someone who is getting a divorce, and her husband hid a tracker in her car that you couldn't just find. They had to actually go inside the car. She had some guys tear it up, not ruin it, but go through, and they found a tracker hidden in her car. So, there's a lot of technology now that can do that kind of thing. Cyber stalking has been defined as a pattern of repeated threats, harassment, and other unwelcome contact through the use of a computer or other electronic communication-based technology. Technology keeps progressing and new social media apps are made, and it appears likely that more people will use these tools to pursue relationships or exact revenge. Loser Lisa, why did she drop the restraining order? Why do the other victims drop restraining orders? Because that's what happens in real life. I had to do 2 protective orders for my ex because it's complicated. Yeah, I get that. I get it. I get that. I don't know why this Lauren did though. I don't know. I haven't watched her 9-hour video. And here's cyber stalking is not just one thing. This is what it is it's defined as a pattern of repeated threats, harassment, a pattern, not one event, and other unwelcome contact through the use of a computer or other electronic communications-based technology. As technology progresses and new social media apps are developed, it appears likely that more people will use these tools to pursue all of that. A typical cyber stalking scenario might take the form of a stalker posting false or hostile information on a social media platform, impersonating the victim online, or even recruiting others to harass or threaten the target before hacking his or her personal accounts. Here's an example they're going to show. In one case in particular, highlights the devastating effects that these people can wreak on a victim. An ex-partner initiated the harassment by sending emails and making numerous phone calls over a 6-month period, which led to the victim getting a restraining order. However, the stalker subsequently utilized the internet to continue the harassment. He took out fake ads in the victim's name for casual sexual partners and for selling pornography. In these ads, he put the victim's name, address, and phone number. According to the victim, she received several propositions each day from interested males. It became so bad that men were showing up at her door, even engaging in sex acts. This has a devastating effect on the woman, and she ended up being hospitalized for stress and trauma. Can you imagine that? Somebody could actually take your name, put you, no, Brittany said they were signing her up for the LDS, the LDS came to her house, and you can actually do that. You can actually sign people up for stuff, but to put them on a casual sex partners and pornography site, you have to prove a hack. All right. In one study, it was found that cyber stalkers were much less likely to participate in approach behavior and significantly more likely to be former intimate partners or the subject of a restraining order. Significantly more likely to be former intimate partners. She said she dropped it because it was going to be aired by Law and Crime with their cameras in the courtroom. Mona Lisa, I did hear that, but were they really going to show her son being filmed? So that was one of the things she said, to protect her son, who's 10 or 11. So that was the thing that I don't think Law and Crime would do that. Would they show a kid in court? I don't think the judge would allow that. Kevin says, I watched the 9-hour side of Lauren's view and saw nothing that what she was claiming. I tried to be open-minded, but those texts have to be juicy. Yeah. The texts must be really a lot. Back in the Craigslist Backpage days, people did that a lot. Oh, that's horrible. I think I heard a news story about a similar thing and the poor woman ended up dead. Oh, wow, Robin. That's scary. In order to rebuild self-esteem, a narcissistic hurt leads the stalker to renew the connection or seek retaliation. So, here's what happens to a person who's been stalked. This is the negative consequences of that. Negative outcomes include, but not limited to, depression, PTSD, physical harm, or even death. There are many unknowables when it comes to stalking that it can cause a great deal of anxiety and distress. Roughly half of individuals who are stalked are worried about what will happen next, and over a third are afraid the harassment will never end. So just to quickly go over a few things that you can do to stay safe if you feel uneasy or frightened. It's your gut signaling that something is up. Trust it. Sometimes we don't know that something's amiss before we can see evidence. Dealing with a stalker might be unnerving, but there are steps you can take to protect yourself. Be resolute and let the individual who is making you uncomfortable know that you do not want to continue communication. Follow through with this. At the very first instance of invasive conduct, once you decline contact, you must stop replying so as not to encourage them. You must stop replying. if you're on here and people are saying things about you, you can let it be known that you don't want them to do that, but you got to stop going back and forth with them. It's just going to get worse. It was their unpleasant conduct that led to this scenario. Therefore, you shouldn't worry about hurting their feelings when you discontinue communication. Wait, her son wasn't testifying. The only thing her son knows is what she made him aware of, which is crazy to me that he knew anything. Oh. Yeah, and that's the thing with Brittany too. And you're in everything that your children know about what's going on the internet is because you've told them. And it's not that you had to go tell them because you were afraid. It's that they've been with you all along in the room, listening to your side of it, listening to you with headphones on, but hearing you and hearing you call everybody haters and hearing you curse people out and hearing all that stuff. Well, I hope a lot of people learn a lesson from the Lauren scenario about whether you're in person, know these people, or you only know them online. What you say to people behind the scenes on the internet has been proven time and again to be brought back, to be shown to the masses. Nothing we say is privileged. We're not lawyers, right? I can definitely see the PTSD, always in fear and on alert. Oh. And the affair allegations must have caused some tension in the home. I didn't know there was an affair. Were they saying he was having an affair? So, stalker refers to the unwanted and constant attention that makes you feel terrified, uneasy, and anxious. You got to protect yourself. You need to make everybody aware in your personal life that this is happening. And that's one way, because if you have people who are getting emails from somebody saying that you did X, Y, and Z, you just tell those people, just, block their emails. You block their emails. You block your phone, block them on your phone. Hey, feisty Nana. You have to take care of yourself. Stalkers use manipulation to feed their obsession. It's one of the best ways for a stalker to get what they want, especially when dealing with an ex-partner. Some typical techniques a stalker could use to draw you back are described below. They will use guilt or create a crisis to get you to feel sorry for them, such as, why are you doing this to me? How could you not worry about me? They make empty promises to keep in contact. This is the last time, I swear, I just need closure. They will resort to blackmail. I'll let your employer know what time you called in, that time you called in sick. They play on your vulnerabilities and make unfounded accusations. Excuse me. For instance, they don't care about anyone. You don't care about anyone but yourself. That's just manipulation. You're just putting that person down. You're making them feel like they're not important, that you're not doing anything to them. It's all in their mind, gaslighting. They will distort what you say to fit their purposes. I know that your friends are only trying to brainwash you against me because I know that you truly do love me. They will offer extravagant or costly presents with strings attached. After all I've done for you, or how can you treat me this way after I've been so kind to you? Okay, and lastly, we'll go over safety tips. If someone's following you, find a safe place and call 911. If you think somebody's following you, pull up into a police station. If you don't know your area, pull up to a place that there's a lot of people around. Call 911. Go to the nearest police or fire station or a friend's house, a mall or a shelter. Inform yourself of where these places are in your neighborhood. Go ahead right now. Figure out where you would go if somebody was following you. Keep your phone charged and with you at all times. I think most people do that. Trust your instincts. Change your routes and habits. I used to do about 6 miles around downtown Hot Springs here, walking and running, and I didn't have the same route every day, but I was warned, you know, you don't need to post that on where you went, because somebody could be stalking me and they could know where I was going to be. It's not a big place, but you know, you have to be careful. You don't want to go on, like, you don't want to be somebody who has the same habits every day, where, like, if I had gone on the same route every day, which I didn't, and I won't when I go back out. Alternate where you shop for groceries, where you get your coffee, make it more difficult to track your movements. If you go to the gym, take a friend with you. Thanks, Kevin. It is a big commitment, but taking up some form of self-defense is very beneficial. Really, if you're in fear for your life, go take some self-defense classes. Even if you have guns, even if you have pepper spray, they're going to teach you how to protect yourself if you don't, because you can't take your gun everywhere. You can't take it. You might be in a place where you can't take it. Have a step-by-step safety plan. Don't answer suspicious emails or text messages. I get text messages often that are made to look like an accident. Like, we're meeting up at such and such. It's not real. I just delete those. I mean, you have to be careful about your well-being. You get in contact with somebody on text, there's no telling where it could lead that you don't know, that's up to no good. And again, if you're so afraid and you've done all these things to protect yourself, seek therapy. If nothing else, you can learn ways to cope with the harassment, so that when the person is doing this, you're not losing your mind. Therapy can help you do that. But physically, you have to protect yourself. You got to protect your mind, and you got to take care of yourself. So I'm about talked out. Thank you, Robin. I try. I just want people to know that what you hear on this internet with people arguing and fighting is not a lot of times it's not to the level of what we've seen these people are actually going through. And to think that you're going to shut everybody up because you say you're afraid and you want, I mean, I don't think that the fighting back and forth that happens with creators and stuff is to any level of harassment. They're not sending things directly to you. They're not sending things outside of YouTube that are going to your family and stuff. It's all on YouTube. And the law is going to say, well, you can log off. That's going to be the law. You can log off. You can't log off if you're getting text messages and emails and all that stuff personally to you, or even snail mail, if that even happens anymore. But on YouTube, if you're having problems on YouTube, you can log off. And you cannot go in other chats, in other people's chats, and talk shit about the person who you say you're terrified of. You just can't do that. I mean, you can do it, but you can't get away with doing that and then go to the court and saying, I'm scared for my life. That just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. Thanks, Bliss. I'm gonna go for today, and I do appreciate everybody who's been here. We just did the live with no mods, and everybody, as far as I know, was well behaved. I did not see every person that came in, nor did I say hi to everybody. I'm sorry. I love your feedback, and I love what you're saying. And be safe. Take care of yourself, and remember that what we hear is not always valid or true, and that the person who's crying and whining and wanting money from you is not necessarily telling you everything, right? So I appreciate y'all, and I hope to see you next time. Have a great day. Have a great Sunday.